Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Grand Canyon Council Family Den Pilot Program Kickoff meeting. For those that I haven't had a chance to meet yet, my name is Ken Thomas. I'm the VP of Membership for the Council. And tonight, Davis Fox and I are going to be tag teaming. I'm sure most of you know Davis, but I'll let him introduce himself. Davis, you want to introduce yourself if anybody doesn't know you?
Yeah, wonderful. I'm Davis Fox, Director of Field Services for the Grand Canyon Council, and I'm so glad to be here and support all of you as we grow scouting and provide more opportunities for young people.
So we are excited because we've got some really great information to share with you, and we're excited to have your PACs participate. This kickoff is going to give you an overview and details of the pilot program and what we're piloting as the Family Den Pilot Kickoff to cover the things your PAC can do and make sure to be expected to have done just so that you're prepared accordingly. We're going to cover a couple different components on this, but the main things are the background, key items, and the questions. So first and foremost, relative to a quick background, is in 2021, the National Cub Scouting Committee had identified that the number of girls joining Cub Scouting nationally was about 10% of the Cub Scout membership. And when you compare that to the number of girls divided by the number of family PACs, it was actually less than 1%. So the background on this is, hey, looking at what was going on relative to the Family PAC program, it didn't look like it was working. And there was a lot of feedback in addition to that. So one of the things that we want to identify tonight is some changes to that program. The second item that we're going to draw attention to are items outlined in the Memorandum of Understanding. And Davis is going to give more information on that. The final item that we have is we're going to have a Q&A period at the end. But the great news associated with this is that this really removes a lot of the friction and a lot of the barriers associated to running a family PAC. Got a lot of feedback nationally, and National really incorporated that into a revised program that Grand Canyon Council is able to participate in and help pilot. So Davis, you want to go to the next slide. What we're going to do is we're going to go through and review a little bit of detail, but basically family PACs identified that several had no girls registered, and in family PACs with more than one girl, girls were usually different grade levels. And so you see on the left-hand side of the screen a traditionally organized PAC, and on the right-hand side, it was a little bit not traditional in order to be able to accommodate the female youth. This was reported as a pain point as PACs struggle to form gender-specific dens. And so a proposal was drafted to allow family PACs to form dens with boys and girls as an option. This would provide greater flexibility, reduce the number of dens, reduce the number of den leaders needed within the same PAC, and most importantly, provide girls and boys with the same PAC quality programming. So the goal is to really kind of remove the friction associated with the gender-specific dens and combine those into gender-neutral dens. So Davis, I'm going to turn it over to you for some of the other details.
Wonderful, thank you. Kent mentioned that a national survey was shared a while back and on a study to look at how these family PACs were going. And in the survey that was conducted, we asked, how are things going? And the National Council had a response rate that gave them a 95% confidence with their overall findings. Overall, things are looking good for family PACs. The National Council asked what positives individuals liked about family scouting, and it was clear that folks liked having a family PAC, and they had a lot of positive things to say about it. Among those were increased participation, and that was a common theme amongst the most popular responses. They also asked what challenges were being faced, and the top 4 issues all centered around having separate gendered dens. The Family Den pilot is designed to remove this barrier. This pilot was developed using the data and feedback from all of you. So we want to thank you for providing that feedback so we can continue to grow and improve what we're doing. We're going to ask that if you participate with this Family Den pilot, you read and complete a memorandum of understanding that acknowledges your chartered partner and the PAC leadership are agreeing to participate in the conditions of the pilot So this means that we're all signing in together. No one's doing it behind anyone else's back, and that we've got some framework for how we're going to participate in this pilot. On a national level, this pilot will allow us to gather data on the delivery model, and the major indicator for success will be the Net Promoter Score and the engagement levels measured through surveys put out through the Voice of the Scout. Please make sure your parents and leaders are aware that if they receive a survey from the BSA, it would be really beneficial and helpful if they take the time to complete it. Their responses will determine the success of the pilot. And we'll talk in a little bit greater depth about some of the specifics for the Memorandum of Understanding, but the key elements on here are that it's done in agreement and cooperation with the chartered partner. Our Cub Scout packs use Scout Book, and they set up their dens through Scout Book, and that we comply with the other elements of that Memorandum of Understanding. Those are the big pieces here, and a lot of the parts of the Memorandum of Understanding that I don't have listed are things that we're already doing. It's ensuring that we have registered den leaders that are delivering our program. It's following the Guide to Safe Scouting and all youth protection policies. And with that,
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate it. So a couple things. I just want to reiterate that, the feedback was pretty loud and clear. Davis covered it, but, National heard loud and clear what the hurdles were, and this is a proposal to really change and take action. And, sometimes bigger companies, it doesn't really matter who they are, get it wrong. Sometimes they get it right. This is something I really believe they got right. It removes a lot of the barriers. It removes a lot of the friction. I'm going to cover with you a couple of nuances relative to the program, and we're going to cover some things that you already know around the program. The first of which is obviously the proposal went through the risk assessment and legal review. It was identified that no changes to the current health and safety measures would be necessary for the proposal. And obviously one of our current barriers to abuse is the buddy system. So here's a nuance. In this program, buddies need to be single gender. So you can't have male-female teams or buddies as part of the activity. In the past, this was unemphasized in Cub Scouting because the den structure was single gender, but now it becomes relevant as it relates to multi-gender dens. So the family den, with boys and girls, a boy and a girl may not be paired up as buddies is one of the nuances. One of the other nuances is we want to emphasize the requirement that a registered adult female leader who is 21 years or older must be present anytime female youth are participating in the program. But the change, which I think really helps remove some of the issues, there needs to be one for the entire pack that needs to be at the event, rather than individual leadership for each of the dens and the den activities. Something that really hopefully will help facilitate the ability to run a true Cub Scout oriented event. As far as other specifics, as many know, there are specific camping policies for Cub Scouts that are in the Guide to Safe Scouting, but a couple reminders: Cub Scouts can camp as a pack, and Cub Scout Webelos and Arrow of Light Scouts can camp out as a den. No change to that. Pack campouts and Webelos and Arrow of Light den campouts must have a blue train leader. And Cub Scout campouts can happen at any approved site. Approval happens through the council and following all of the standards associated, depending on length, the national camp standards, etc. So in Cub Scouting, parents and guardians may share a tent with their family, and Cub Scouts may share a tent with their immediate family members, which may include their siblings, as well as a parent or guardian. If Cub Scouts of any rank are sharing a tent with other Cub Scouts instead of their family, male and female youth must camp separately. Another nuance, but appropriate. And there can be no more than 2-year age difference for those scouts sharing a tent. One highlight on the buddies is that if you have a buddy you have a situation where you have a single youth gender, and there isn't a second youth gender, the buddy can be the youth's parents. It does not have to be another scout in those scenarios. Optimally, getting the most out of the program, obviously that would be the case, but the reality is to accommodate that, it can be a parent. So a couple nuances, some stuff that was and still continues to be the same as far as regular standards go. So a couple things, and you can see the barcodes listed here. This is just a kind of a quick reminder, your PAC leadership to review the Guide to Safe Scouting and the SAFE checklist. You're going to do this prior to any scouting activity. Honestly, the resources are there. If you're unfamiliar with them, these barcodes will take you to them. They're on scouting.org. The online version is always the most current policy, and you can bookmark these resources if you want to get to them. But by and large, the generic resources or the general resources that are out there, they're still the same. There's no change. So a couple nuances, but a lot that is still the same. Davis, I'm going to turn over back to you.
We're now going to do a quick walkthrough on how to set up dens within Scoutbook. If you're new to Scoutbook, to access it, you simply go to scoutbook.com. Your PAC is already in Scoutbook as it is a portal to your official PAC records. You log in using the same username and password as you would for my.scouting. You'll first need to have your administrative rights with the PAC in order to create dens. Those rights are automatic for the registered chartered organization rep, the PAC committee chair, and the Cub master. Administrative rights can also be given to any registered leader in the PAC by the chartered organization rep or the committee chair. Once you're logged in, you'll be at the home screen. Click on the PAC on the right-hand side, and I know this is the part that gets scary for folks because we're not living it while we're looking at it. We've also got a dedicated Grand Canyon Council advancement YouTube page that has a walkthrough for this, and it'll be linked in the for the video afterwards. But we're clicking on that.
Is that the one that Bill Nelson got the Academy Award nomination for?
Absolutely, the Bill
right.
Nelson.
All right, fantastic.
From the PAC page, you may see dens already set up. You can use the existing dens to fill it in with the leaders and youth. If you need to create a den, you'll find the button to do so on the lower right side after the list of existing dens. You'll then identify the type of den that you're creating and assign a number to it. The den you created will now show up on the PAC page. Click on that den, and you can add the new leaders or new scouts. There's a variety of ways to add new scouts based on whether or not the scout is already registered in a den or not. If the scout is already in the PAC, you could click the reassign button, and that will take you to the roster of the PAC. And that will take you to the roster of the PAC, and you would pick all the youth you want to invite to that den. The other option is to add a new scout who's not in Scoutbook and invite them to join the den. This also means inviting them to join the PAC. So using that invitation manager through my.scouting to invite and welcome additional families in. When setting up your den, if you need help, you can go to help.scoutbook.scouting.org or check out that Grand Canyon Council Advancement YouTube channel I referenced.
So a couple things, and then we'll open it up for Q&A. First and foremost, the timing on this is great, and we really do want to get that memorandum of understanding back from the PACs right in time for fall recruitment. Fall recruitment is our bread and butter. This is going to be a great way to expand the program to a lot of youth that don't even know they should be in the program yet. So I think it's a fantastic opportunity for us in particular to take full advantage of this as we begin looking at fall recruitment. This is a pilot to address issues that came about as part of the Family PAC program, which is why this is called the Family Den program. And it's not a path forward, or it really shouldn't be interpreted as any changes to the Scouts BSA. This is really to address impediments in the Cub Scouting program. And one of the things to keep in mind relative to this, because the BSA is still a gender-specific unit, the 5th grade Arrow of Light Scouts are also still gender specific, because the Arrow of Light den is getting them ready for the Scouts BSA program. So it is something that is a little bit of a nuance and a little bit of a twist, and it is something where there's a little bit of a difference between Webelos and Arrow of Light dens. But otherwise, that's really the only nuance within the Cub Scouting program. So definitely want to make sure that everybody keeps that in mind and organizes accordingly. As always, commissioners are the gateway to service in our council. If anybody needs anything or has any help, even the commissioner may not have the answer, but the commissioner will be able to set you up with people that do have the answer. I am certainly available to help out with anyone that has any questions, and more importantly, really willing to help out with anyone planning a Cub Scout recruitment night. I'd be happy to help out and help organize and define that. If you haven't seen it yet, I encourage everyone to take a look at the overall membership toolkit on the council website. This is right in line with it. Our toolkit is not specific to talk about gender specific dens or gender oriented activities. It's just about the mechanics of a successful recruitment. And this conflicts in no way with that. So I absolutely encourage you guys to have a blast with this, take advantage of it, take advantage of the opportunity, follow up with your CORs, sign the memorandum of understanding, and let's do some serious youth outreach in our bread and butter time, the fall here. With that, I'm going to open up for Q&A, see if anybody has any questions. I think I did see a couple things in the chat.
There was a question clarifying the single gender dens in 5th grade. That's just to repeat, that's absolutely accurate. Lion Cubs through 4th graders, first your Weeblo Scouts, can be in family dens. 5th graders specifically are in single gender dens. And as Kent mentioned, that's because we're making sure that those young people are prepared for a troop, and the single gender troops are making sure that they're set up and they're prepared effectively.
Got it. So
we have
Joe, hopefully we answered your question on that for the 5th grader of Light dens.
Yep,
Anything else? All right, super. And then Sandy asked a question. This is a good question. Can siblings of different gender be buddies? On that. So, I don't actually know how to address that, to be honest with Davis. What are your thoughts on that?
So I think the question comes down to what type of scouting activity are we doing? If we've got siblings that are fraternal twins and they're in the same den, then I think this meets the intent of the law. If we're talking about youth that are a few years apart age-wise, then during den meetings, they wouldn't be in the same environment as one another, and they couldn't be the buddies there. In a camp-out environment, I think it goes back to being within the bounds of reasonability.
I mean, honestly, it really comes down to what takes precedence, the fact that they're familial or the fact that they're gender. I got to believe familial is going to take precedence. So, Sandy, hopefully that answers your question. Looks like it does. Fantastic. Joe, I agree with you. There is no way I could ever get my kids to do anything together, let alone camp together, if I wanted to come home in one piece and actually still have a family.
Leslie asked, what happens if we only have one 5th grade girl? She has to be an Arrow of Light Scout all by herself? Kent, you want to take a crack at that one?
I mean, unfortunately, that is the case. It's similar to what's there today, and that's something that just can't change. Now, what does that mean? It means that it doesn't mean that she couldn't participate in activities with other youth the same age, especially if it's not a den activity, but a pack activity. Or you could define it as a pack activity for the Arrow of Light dens, and then you could have both a male den and a female den at that activity. There might be one person in the female den, but you could have a pack-oriented activity to that effect. So there is a boundary, a Chinese wall, if you will, that has to be there.
And last but not least, this would be a great opportunity for her to invite friends to get involved with her. That way, when she bridges over into a scout troop, she's got a cohort of friends that can be in that new youth patrol together, or however that troop is set up. But a greater sticking opportunity, greater ability to be retained in the program if you've got friends there with you. And while we're asking the question about if there's one young lady that's in 5th grade, the same answer is true if it were one young man.
Yeah. And I would also offer this as well, Leslie. And this is a Kent Thomas truism, but I've been volunteering since 2008 as an adult volunteer. I grew up in this council. I'm a Theodore Roosevelt alum, and through and through for scouting. But scouts, a lot of times they join, or their parents have them join for adventure or for character building activities and things along those lines. But they really stay because of their friends. So if that's an opportunity to really have someone bring in a friend or two so that they're not all by themselves, more power to them. And honestly, everybody's going to have a much better time in the program. And I say this in all truthfulness, because even when I was in college, because I was heavily involved in the Order of the Arrow as a youth here in Arizona, when I started going to ASU, I was able to actually go out and recruit my friends from the Order of the Arrow so that we could be in the same club. We were in the Student Alumni Association together at ASU, and I could hang out with all my friends again from the Scouts, because the bottom line is we were still purposely in the same circles. So it's a truism. I don't think just for the Scouts. I think it's true across the board.
We didn't get the question yet today, but I'm going to interject it anyway. I've had questions about what are some of the elements in the Memorandum of Understanding, and I've scrolled down I've cut off the part where we announce what our chartering organization and what our PAC is, and these are the different elements of the Memorandum of Understanding. Again, the first one is getting buy-in from all the stakeholders, utilize Scout Book, assign a registered adult leader in the PAC as the representative for this pilot, and have them attend a training and kickoff. So glad to have all of you here today. Have all of your registered leaders, or only registered leaders, as den leaders for each den. If you have questions or need assistance, please reach out to the local council, Grand Canyon Council. And if for any reason the pilot is terminated, then we will go back to single gender dens to continue our program. So those are the elements of that Memorandum of Understanding.
Joe, appreciate your comment on that. I'm glad to hear that it worked out, because I was afraid you were going to say that the picture that you had was actually a picture of your daughter when she was getting frustrated at the fact that she was the only female. So I'm glad to hear that.
Friends, the floor is yours. Any other questions tonight?
Thank you, everybody, for your attendance, and very much appreciate you guys taking a look at this. Watch for the Memorandum of Understanding. I definitely want to try to really, this is a pilot program, and our council is one of the participants. So we really want to get some good data behind it. That's why Scout Book is the structure on it. To your extent that we can get and incorporate this into fall recruitment, I think it's going to be great. So appreciate your guys' time tonight. Thank you very much.